Reintegrating those once affiliated with terrorism is an issue of global concern. And in Nigeria, the emergence of Boko Haram, a terrorist group that decry Western civilization and democracy, have led to the significant loss of lives and properties. The United Nations High Commission for Refugee, 2020, also suggests that Boko Haram have led to the displacement of over 2 million people in Nigeria's northeast region. Of crucial concern is affected communities' attitude towards the reintegration of deradicalised former Boko Haram members and their families into society, of which research have shown have been marred by resentment, trauma and resistance towards reintegration, IKL 2022. Other factors include loss and perceived lack of justice suffered due to experiencing terrorism. Against the preceding backdrops, the present research seeks to address this issue by examining the feasibility and acceptability of a legal education trauma-informed therapy in comparison to the government media orientation in improving affected community attitude towards reintegration. Methodologically, an experimental design was adopted comparing the legal education trauma-informed therapy to the government media orientation. Data collection involved a mixed method approach comprising quantitative and qualitative methods such as surveys, interviews and focus groups. Ethical approval was also sought for and granted by the Jos University Teaching Hospital. A purposive and snowball sampling techniques was used to recruit 150 participants from 3 major states, including Borno, Adamawa and Plateau states in Nigeria. In each state, the participants were randomly assigned to either the legal education trauma-informed therapy, which is the experimental group, or the control group involving media orientation. In terms of intervention, the legal education trauma-informed therapy is a 12-session intervention that addresses issues such as legal rights and access to legal support, while the trauma-informed therapy addresses problem management techniques. The media orientation is also a 12-session intervention that draws on the National Orientation Agency and information on the government's approach to reintegration, including the sense of togetherness and working as a community. Regarding method of analysis, quantitative data was analyzed using the Wilcoxon sign rank test, while the qualitative data was analyzed using thematic analysis from a social identity theoretical lens. In terms of findings, there was high retention rate across all centers as illustrated. The study also found high level of satisfaction with the intervention compared to the media orientation. As shown in the table, there was also positive attitude toward reintegration for those in the experimental group involving the legal education trauma-informed therapy when compared to the media orientation group, with some centers denoting no improvement. For the qualitative finding, key themes prior to the intervention include perceived lack of justice, loss and trauma. This is regardless of the groups, whether it's control or experimental. Concerning perceived lack of justice, one male participant from Plateau State said,
"I have always disapproved of the reintegration of former Boko Haram members because I feel there is no sense of justice that makes them pay back for their crime, having lost everything I had because of terrorism."
In terms of loss, a female participant from the experimental group in Adamawa said, "The experience I had regarding terrorism is actually so terrible experience, and it really caused a lot of depression and also worry and anxiety. That's the experience I have. I lost loved ones, which was sad. I can say before this intervention, I could not even nurse the idea of accepting these repentant Boko Haram members back into society."
Concerning trauma, a male participant from the media group in Borno State said, "I have been displaced from my home, my house burnt, and I live here in this internally displaced persons camp with very poor support. I cry myself to sleep most times because of everything I have lost. I lost my source of livelihood due to no fault of mine. The government could not even provide adequate security to curtail Boko Haram terrorism, and I am left victimized and depressed like other community members to suffer, whilst they tell us that those who are Boko Haram that caused our pain have repented and we should accept them back. To me, that is very unfair."
However, after the intervention, the study found more positive attitude towards reintegration from the experimental group when compared to the control group involving media orientation.
As a female participant from the experimental group in Adamawa said, "After this legal education plus trauma-informed therapy intervention, I can say that I am more open to giving them a second chance. I have also learned and understand how to manage negative moods, traumatic thoughts whilst living and working with others."
However, For the control group involving media orientation, one male participant from Borno State said, "I have really learnt a lot from this program. For example, I learnt about the national orientation agencies and their role. I also learnt about some of the government's interventions to encourage reintegration. But all I can say is that I am still less likely to accept former Boko Haram members back because I am seeing all the things the government are doing for those that cause me and my family pain. My family and I are still in this internally displaced person camp with poor support or even sufficient food to eat. Yet, these repented Boko Haram members are living well, with governing paying them, training them on vocational skills, etc."
In conclusion, as demonstrated using the legal education trauma-informed therapy intervention, successful reintegration requires effective community input, sense of justice and the adoption of psychosocial support which addresses trauma suffered. This way more positive attitude towards reintegration could be achieved. Thank you. This video and its content were funded by the American Psychology Law Society research to enhance the impact and diversification of psychology and law research.